Hey everyone, welcome to UK Media Warrior. Today we're looking at Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Now, the question is this film as good as the last one? The original Guardians of the Galaxy was a little bit of a sleeper hit for Marvel. They took a risk, nobody really knew these characters, but they put it out there, they gave the film to James Gunn to direct, and it became an explosion. Everyone loved it. It's in my top 5 superhero movie films of all time, be it DC or Marvel, irrelevant. Guardians of the Galaxy is a fantastic film, and it's a 9.5, possibly even a 10 out of 10 for me. I absolutely adore that film. It makes me laugh, it makes me smile, it makes me cry. Well, okay, not cry, it doesn't go quite that far, but it hits all the heartstrings and it does what it had to do, and it was a phenomenon for Marvel. That meant James Gunn had a hell of a lot to live up to for the second film. How is he going to do that? Now, the problem with Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I've been hearing this a lot, is that it's not as good as the first one because it's basically the same as the first one, but just pumped up in certain areas. So, an example. Everyone loved Drax the Destroyer, Dave Bautista, in the first film. Everyone thought he was funny. He was great. Fantastic fight scenes, those one-liners. Nothing goes over my head, I'm too tall. Stuff like that. It was fantastic. Everyone loved that. So it seems that either James Gunn or Marvel heard that response from fans and said, okay, well, they loved Drax being funny. Let's put more Drax being funny into this film. The problem is, a little bit of Drax being funny goes a long way. And it was exactly the right amount you wanted in the first film. But in this film, for me at least, and obviously this is my review, so I'm the only one responsible for these views. I'm not talking about the rest of the world. But for me at least, them keep having him trying to be funny just got a little bit tiring. I mean, that's not to say he wasn't. There were times when he was funny, and that was fine. That was great, and I loved that. But it was the constant barrage of Drax one-liners. You didn't get that in the first one. You got the occasional one here and there, and it worked because it was sort of diluted with the amount of action he was in, the amount of fights he was in. In Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he's in like one major fight, and that's at the beginning of the film. And that's it. Secondly, Baby Groot. Now, this is going to be diversive. Marvel has been putting Baby Groot in all the trailers and all the marketing for Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because they quickly latched onto the fact that everyone loved him. Everyone thought he was cute, he was funny, everyone adored him. And so did I. Because he's all those things. But once again, it seems they thought, okay, everyone loves Baby Groot, so we have to put a lot of Baby Groot into this film. And they have. They have like shoved him in everywhere. And it's the same problem. It works in places, but there's almost an overkill of Baby Groot, if that is possible. I mean, there are times when it absolutely works. I mean, for example, there's a scene where they're flying through this asteroid field, and Rocket and Star-Lord are fighting over who's going to fly the thing, and they're careening all over the place, and everyone's shouting, and everyone's screaming, and you've got Gamora and Drax at the back of the ship. And Drax is out on a tether trying to shoot a ship that's following them. And all this chaos is going down, and the camera suddenly clicks to Baby Groot who's sitting in Gamora's seat eating a bowl of M&Ms. And it's just hysterical. It's just funny. All this chaos is going out, and they just click for 1 or 2 seconds to Baby Groot just sitting there smiling, eating M&Ms from this bowl in his lap. And it's funny, and that works. The problem for me was the very, very opening scene for the Guardians themselves, where they're fighting a huge beast on a platform from another dimension, and the credits start to roll, and it's basically focused on Baby Groot. The music starts to play, he starts to dance, and this fight is going on behind him, and it's him running around the platform, you know, chasing things like little animals or whatever, or trying to stay out of the creature's way, or whatever it is. And the other galaxy, Guardians of the Galaxy, behind him, fighting this huge creature, and he's just dancing away around the platform and having fun and doing stuff. And that's fine, because it's sort of reminiscent to how you saw Star-Lord at the very beginning of the first Guardians, where the titles roll, the music swells, and he's sort of like dancing his way through that cave, kicking creatures, and listening to his music on his iPod. But that worked. That worked a lot better than this did for me. For me, this just felt like it was being rammed down my throat. I mean, for a minute or two, you thought, okay, yeah, this is cute, this is funny, all right. But then for the entire credit sequence was the Guardians being kicked to crap out behind Baby Groot, who was just dancing around the platform. It was like it was getting too sweet, too much, you know, too quick. And it was like it was being rammed down my throat. And you know, it sort of spoiled it a little bit for me for the rest of the film, because I had so much of that Baby Groot up front. It was like, I don't really need that much more for the rest of the film, but unfortunately, as I said, they keep putting him into scenes and they keep pushing him and pushing him. I'm sure they thought it was a good idea, but I don't know. I mean, again, they kept harking back to the first film. Remember the first film, at the end of the film, where they had, I can't remember the guy's name now, but the bad guy who was attacking that planet, and the planet put up all of their starships, all those little starships, created this golden net to stop the spaceship from touching the planet. In this film, you've got the Sovereign, who are this race of golden people who hire the Guardians at the start of the movie to stop this creature from stealing some batteries of theirs. And they've got these small little golden fighters that they control remotely in like this video arcade emporium. You see it several times in the film for quite long periods of time, where you've got the pilots are in these little booths basically playing a video game that's while they control this spaceship, trying to hunt down the Guardians or whatever they happen to be doing. But they appear at least twice in huge numbers on the screen, these little gold spaceships. So it's like they said, well, everyone loved that bit at the end of the first film where we had all those spaceships and they formed that golden web, and everyone loved that. So let's put this film, will have more little spaceships flying around and doing crap, and that'd be fantastic. Yeah, okay, it will work once. You know, it worked when they're chasing the Guardians, because the Guardians, or Rocket to be more precise, stole the batteries anyway, and they're chasing the Guardians to try and get them back or to kill them. And that works, because in that scene, that's fine, that's what they will be doing. Then they turn up again, and I think they turn up again at the end, or they definitely turn up again at the end. So, you know, this sort of stuff, it just felt filler. It just felt like filler, because by like 2/3 of the way through the film, I'm sitting there thinking, this is a long film. You know, I'm starting to feel this now. And it is longer than the first film. It's like 15 minutes longer than the first Guardians film. But the first Guardians film, you don't realise how long it is, because you're enjoying it so much, you're along for the ride, you're just sitting back, you're having a great time. But this one, I don't know whether it's down to the editing, or whether it's down to, as I say, these filler things where you're seeing the same thing over and over again. And it just starts to lose its shine, and it just starts to feel bloated. Now, that's not to say there isn't good things about this film, and I did enjoy this film. It really is a good film. It's a fun film. But if you just shaved about 20 minutes off of it, it would have been a better film. If it had been a tighter movie, it would have been better. It would have been like the first one, I feel. But there are great things about this movie. Kurt Russell is fantastic as Ego the Living Planet, and Peter Quill's father, Star-Lord's father. It's pretty telegraphed that he's going to be the bad guy. I mean, that's not much of a surprise. So by the end, when it ends with Star-Lord and Ego fighting each other in this huge fight at the end, you know, you saw it coming. So, you know, that wasn't much of a surprise. There was a bit of a twist where Ego admitted that he put the cancer into Peter Quill's mother's head to kill her. I thought that was a bit out there, and I don't think that really needed to be in there. I mean, it was as if Marvel seems to have this thing about killing off superheroes' parents. I mean, it's always been in the comics. It's always been an established trait in the comics. But it really does seem to be lately. I mean, you had the whole Batman versus Superman with the Martha thing debate that's been going on forever. You know, Spider-Man's mum and dad are dead. And in this one, you get, for no real apparent reason, you get Ego admitting to Peter Quill that, yeah, okay, I killed your mother, I put that cancer in her head. And that's supposedly what turns Peter from joining with his dad to fighting him. But that doesn't really work for Peter Quill's character, because you've seen in the first film, and you've seen through this film, that Peter Quill, despite his brash, arrogant, egotistical, playboy sort of persona, it's actually got a moral compass inside him, and it's really quite strong. Even though he you know, tries to play it off, it is there, and we've seen it before. So during this film, when you see that Ego has basically had loads of kids, hundreds, thousands of children all around the galaxy, trying to find the one that could be in touch with the celestial power that he needs to use to finish off his plan, and Peter Quill is that one. So when you see the skulls and you see the bones of these thousands of kids that he's killed because they weren't up to snuff, and Peter Quill knows this because he's been told by his friends that that's what Ego has done, his dad has done, that would be enough to turn him from the dark side to the good. And you see he is turning him from the dark side to the good. You hear it in his tone, in his inflection, the way he's looking at his dad. And then it's like the final nail in the coffin is Ego saying, oh yeah, well, I killed your mum, I put the cancer in her head, you know, she's only a mortal, you know, I loved her, yes I did, but she's mortal, and we're celestials and immortal, so we shouldn't worry about that sort of stuff. And it's like, it didn't need that. It didn't need that final kick. We knew Ego was a bad guy. We know Peter would probably have come over on his own because he found out that all of his previous siblings had been killed by his dad. So yeah, it didn't need that. But let's say, Kurt Russell plays the role incredibly well. I mean, that guy just. Kurt Russell is an enigma. He's just a fantastic in nearly anything he is in. So that's good. And, you know, I'm not knocking the Guardians. All of the performances for the Guardians, Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Dave Bautista, you know, Rocket and Groot, they're back. I mean, and they're fantastic. And I love Rocket. Rocket is just cool. He is just so cool. So I love seeing them back on screen again. And their dynamic together is great. But we don't really see a lot of them together after the halfway through the film. As soon as Ego turns up and they head off to his planet, they sort of start to split up into little twosomes. So we don't really see them as a group again until the very, very end. But what we do see is more of Yondu, played by Michael Rooker. Now, he was obviously in the first film the blue guy, the Ravager, the captain, who kidnapped Peter Quill as a kid and was supposed to deliver him to Ego the Living Planet, his dad, but decided not to. Now, we never really found out in the first film why he decided not to. You know, and why he kept protecting Peter when the other Ravagers wanted to kill him or get rid of him or whatever. In this one, we find out the reason he didn't was because Yondu found out that Ego was killing all the kids, and he'd had enough of that. So rather than delivering Peter to this guy, thinking that he was going to die, Yondu kept him on the ship, and slowly over time, he started to think of Peter as his son. And although Peter didn't realise it at the time, he looked to Yondu as his dad. And that comes out towards the end of the film, and especially at the end of the film when Yondu sacrifices himself to save Peter, Star-Lord. But during the course of the movie, Yondu's character is expanded upon in a fantastic way. It's not done all at once, It's not shoved down your throat. You're just seeing parts of his backstory that you didn't get to see in the first film. So by the time that he dies at the end, it really hits you. I mean, I've got no problem, you know, admitting that I was sitting in the theatre watching his burial scene, and I had a tear in my eye because all the Ravagers have come back. The Ravagers who had turned their back on Yondu, because one of their codes was you never deal in kids. You don't, no slavery, no kidnapping of children. You just don't do it. But Yondu and his crew had done, because Ego had made it well worth their while, up until the point of Peter Quill, when Yondu had said enough's enough, I'm not doing it anymore. But by that time it was too late. The other Ravagers had turned their back on him. He was an exile, he was an outcast, they didn't want anything to do with him. But because of the way he died honourably, trying to save Peter and trying to kill Ego, the Ravagers came back at the end for his funeral and honoured him. And it was an amazing sequence. It was longer than you normally see for a death sequence, for a burial sequence, but it was done so well, so incredibly well. But you know, that was the first time in the entire movie, other than the kids in my cinema when I was watching it, other than the young little kids who were getting bored, who didn't know what this was on the screen, and that was really annoying. I hate it when people take kids into. I mean, I know over here it's a 12A rated film, which means it's unsuitable for 12-year-olds unless they're with an adult, which always baffles me. If it's unsuitable for a 12-year-old, it doesn't matter if there's an adult with them. It's unsuitable for a 12-year-old. You say that up front. It's unsuitable for a 12-year-old, must have an adult with them. What difference does it make if there's an adult with them? They're still going to see the same unsuitable stuff on the screen. Anyway. Everyone in the cinema had fallen silent for a good 5 to 10 minutes as this entire scene was playing out, this burial scene. And you had the stupid kids, you know, laughing and getting bored. So, but anyway, it was an amazing scene, and it was a fantastic end to the movie. And then you had like 5 after credit scenes, one of which is the Sovereign with a new birthing chamber, saying that she's going to name this new arrival Adam. Now, from what James Gunn says, it's going to be Adam Warlock, and he has big plans for that character in the next movie. And Adam Warlock is a huge thing in the Guardians comic books. We also see Teenage Groot, which is funny. He's interacting with Star-Lord, so that's funny. But yeah, so this is a good film. It's a good film. It's nowhere near as good as the first one. On my rating out of 10, I'm going to give this one a 7.5, maybe an 8. Okay, we'll give it, we'll give it an 8. I mean, it's obviously got some bad points. It's obviously too long, too repetitive with the first film, but it has some great elements in it. And I think James Gunn does save it, but I just hope it wasn't him that decided, oh yeah, we've got to repeat all these things from the first film, otherwise nobody's going to like it. I hope that was more Marvel interference, because if it's James Gunn, I'm worried. If it's Marvel, they might look at the critical response to this film and step back from when he does Guardians 3. But anyway, yeah, so 8 out of 10 for me on this one. Good film, well worth seeing. Great fun ride. Too long, bit bloated, could have been a lot better in certain areas. But that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or share this on Facebook. Until next time, you guys take care. See you then.